sure what that is. Open Graph. Okay. So they are using Open Graph. What is Open Graph? What are the known vulnerabilities in Open Graph? Okay. Is there something I can use there to break in? What else we got? So they got all this metadata here. So there's some global metadata being described here and some tags that go with it or whatever else. So is this, if I'm a penetration tester or a security analyst that is an expert in web, I would be, in my own time, I would be going through learning all the different web frameworks and how they go, so that I might recognize that this might be part of it might be part of a maybe a content delivery system, a CDN of some sort, a content database of some sort might give me something there. DKN. So DKN would be short for Deacon, most likely, not guaranteed, but most likely. Something to check for there. What have we got here? We've got some style sheets, normalize.css. Interesting. Designs, and I've got these here. I could actually download all these and actually have a look at them as well, see what's going on with them. I've got Adobe stuff being launched. Okay, if I was somebody who was interested in hacking into a website, I would have a very close look at anything from Adobe. Adobe is notorious for being very slow to update their software and to be very expensive, and organizations tend not to have to pay for the actual subscription fees that go with Adobe, so that would be a good thing to have a look through. Adobe Satellite, this is old code now, okay? My suggestion to you, if you're developing websites, do not leave things like that sitting in your web code in terms of, oh, this is old stuff. Okay. Is that something I should have a close look at? Okay. This is actually quite, I didn't expect this to be as good an example as it is actually. There's all sorts of things here that might suggest to me that it's worth having a look at. They've got Qualtrics. What might I get out of Qualtrics? So Qualtrics, it's got data there. Does that mean that it's submitting to a website somewhere in Deacon somewhere or some site there? Okay, should I go and have a look at that? Maybe there's a vulnerability there I can have a look with. More Internet Explorer stuff. Okay, I'm going to keep having a look and so on as I go through. Okay, so we've got division here of some sort, a list of some sort. Is that sitting inside a container? No, not necessarily. Search bar. Okay, so it's a grid component of some sort. So that might suggest that it's using, again, it could be suggesting something like Bootstrap. Level 2, level 3, and I could keep going. Okay, so I can go through as an attacker. I can have a look at these things, and I can potentially identify some things that are worth actually exploring and so on. Okay. Do we install DVWA in Kali or Ubuntu? Going through the questions. If you've installed Kali and Ubuntu yourself, then normally you would install Docker in Ubuntu, and Docker will pull down and configure DVWA for you and run it as long as it's actually there. What have we got? Okay, MarketOS, that, yep. So somebody who obviously has either worked with it or is familiar with it. Do I know what language it's written in? I have some insight into what Deacon's used over the years, whether it's current or not, I don't know. Is it Java-based? I don't know. I mean, I know that the last time I spoke to somebody at Deacon, they have the Deacon guideline is that you must use an MVC framework, but it didn't stipulate which one. But there was one that was used for most things, but I won't mention it. You can go find it out if you want to. But yeah, there will be fingerprints left behind by things, and there's actually fingerprinting software to go and find this stuff out for you as well. And I think WhatWeb actually does it. I think that's actually one of the things that's there. So if I go back to my VM, wrong one. Identify technologies used by websites. WhatWeb and the URL. WhatWeb 192.168.1.1. Okay, so it's having a look at damn vulnerable web application. Okay, okay. Okay, So it has found Apache 2.4.29, cookies, country reserved, Ubuntu Linux, Apache 2.4.9 running on Ubuntu, session ID, security, IP 192.168.1.1, redirect location, Ubuntu Linux, getting it again there, Apache 2.4.29. And it's got a password field there. It's pulled bits and pieces out. So WhatWeb is a simple one to actually do it. There's other ones there as well. Don't start using WhatWeb on websites all over the place either. Strictly speaking, fingerprinting could be considered to be doing a form of security attack. Okay. But anyhow, so that gives a bit of an idea. There's tools there to help you identify these things. But as I said, I mean the key difference is I mean look, I actually have myself. I actually have 2 EC Council certificates in security, ethical hacker and security analyst. I've actually done this stuff, but I haven't actually sat there and focused on developing my expertise in one area of security, okay? Because I don't do that for a job. Any questions on what we've covered today? Information overload again, I'm sure.
A silly one, to be honest. Basically, I started thinking I'm sitting at work and doing all these searches. Let's say, for example, just for assignment 1B. Can basically anybody hold this search history against me? I probably shouldn't be doing it at work to begin with, but on a broader scheme of the things, am I making myself exposed? It'll raise eyebrows, and somebody will start asking why I'm actually searching for all of this.
Possible. I mean, there are various laws with regards to what they can and can't do in the first place. So as an organization, you're not allowed to log into somebody's directories and go through all their files. Okay. So you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to open up somebody's email and go through all their emails. That's why what a lot of organizations do, for example, is that they have file shares and say you must store your files over here. They also have things like unified email boxes and give you access to that and so on. That way, all of the stuff is actually under control, or they'll get you to sign a disclaimer or permission grant when you first join the organization, one of the two. These sort of things that are there. In terms of can something like a web search or accessing things on the web get you into trouble? For example, I think it was Telstra. They actually sacked several hundred staff members on the spot because they were accessing Facebook during the lunch breaks over the Telstra network, and it was outside the acceptable use policy. So before you access anything at work, you should be first checking the acceptable use policy and seeing what the issue is. Now, I'm sitting at home, so my acceptable use policy is whatever I decide to do as long as I'm not doing anything that's a criminal activity, because that would get me in trouble. Okay, but I don't, strictly speaking, have any acceptable use policy here. My ISP possibly has some restrictions, and there's obviously national ones as well, right? You're not allowed to go and have a look at child pornography and all these sort of things, right? But in organisations they can decide what you can and can't do. They can put an automatic filter to pick it up, right? So they can pick up. Facebook.
That's not really the question. The question really is, I'm searching, for example, for ARP poisoning attack, right? Can anybody come to me and say, why are you actually doing this? What's your purpose?
If they catch you doing an attack, they might say, well, we can see that you were learning about it here. But no, people learn about this stuff all the time. So
okay, all right, that's a relief.
and you also have very good basis, because you can say I'm enrolled in a cybersecurity unit at Deakin University. That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's like level 1 defense, but still just being curious.
It's straightforward, right? So you can read about how to kill somebody, but it doesn't mean that you're actually going to do it. And you can't.
Well, that's exactly my train of thought, because if you go on the news and somebody is brought to justice for something they may have done or may have not done, that's open to interpretation by the jury. And the history search from the computer is usually brought up at least by the news.
Yes, but you can read online how to make a bomb, but that doesn't mean that you can be convicted of being a terrorist.
Yeah.
Right? You have to do other things that put you in that category, right? You have to be. You have to, I mean, it might grab their attention and they might start monitoring you a bit further, right? But until such time as you start scoping out websites and start acquiring the materials and these sort of things, right? Then no. I mean, just doing a casual read of things, does not in itself get you into trouble. It might get you somebody asking you questions, depending on how far you go. But no.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Subject to all the usual disclaimers, not legal advice, blah 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 blah. Right. So
of course. Just that goes without saying. I just sort of briefly went through the week 5, and I can't find the link to this lab. Do you mind dropping it in the chat, or am I not?
No. It's always in the same spot. So basically, if I go back to this one here. So basically, all you have to do is look for the one that actually says experimenting with. Okay. Go into that. And they all follow the same pattern. They talk about what the objectives are of what you should do. They then say, go ahead and write a lab for it going through these things. And once you've prepared a plan, compare it with the lab task we've prepared. There's the link there.
And if you click there, do you get this nice letterhead of the task?
You get that. Okay.
That's what I'm not getting. Okay, I'll double check.
Yeah, so it's just in the activity section on the bottom of the page, which is experimenting with. Okay.
A couple of times I actually screen dumped from the video.
But that's where it is. Yeah, you don't need to take screenshots. They're all there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Week 1 or week 2 is a bit weird. That's all. Yes. Okay. The ECCEH is security general lead of that. See if you can this week. Normal. Mac OF, flood a switched LAN with random MAC addresses. So that's one way to do a Mac flood attack. And we talk about that in going through in week 2. We looked at using HPing3 for doing IP spoofing and so on. So if you have a look at, if you were to run, let me kill that off, start up Wireshark. Okay, very simple example. This is based on what we did in week 3. I can do ping 192.168.1.1. Okay. There is normal ICMP traffic, okay, plus some ARP traffic. If we just focus on ICMP, okay, that's what I get there. Okay, a request followed by a reply, a request followed by a require, a request followed by the reply. I can also demonstrate. If I just restart that, by instead of that, I go HPing3, ICMP, flood 192.168.1.1. Okay, so I'll let it go for a quarter of a second and then hit Control C. It generated 7,000 packets and there's 15,000 here. Okay, so you can actually see here that this is a massive number now. They've got the time index here, okay, and the time index is basically in seconds from memory. So what we've actually got here is 0.0, keep going through. So in half a second, which is about the time they'll let it run for, there's 7,000. So if you compare that with regular, I'll just do a few more regulars again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So I have at the bottom here, I have some regular ones. You can see there's, 0.029 for the request and the reply goes back straight away. And then 0.06, so that's what, a third of a second later? And then about a third of a second, no, less than that, 0.03 of a second later, 0.02 of a second later, 0.015 of a second, no, 0.02 of a second later, thereabouts. So basically 5 every second it's actually sending these through and actually getting that. So that's the regular timing. for 5 of them. So that's normal behavior for ICMP. And up here, this is not normal behavior for ICMP. So therefore, what will be in assignment 2 is you design an experiment for a protocol of your choosing. You have to demonstrate and capture as part of that normal behavior and abnormal behavior. You have to be able to talk about it, you have to be able to explain it, and that's what will be in the report. So what I've set for assignment 2 is you can have a look around, find a protocol that you're interested in that you can then demonstrate this sort of experiment, normal and abnormal behavior as a result of a security attack. Any security attack you want to do, okay? Whether it be MAC flood, IP spoofing, ICMP flooding, you name it. Any of those are perfectly fine with one caveat. If it's something we do in the unit, then basically you can't get a high mark out of it. The top category, the HD level, won't be accessible to you in one form or another, okay? It's not clearly indicated on what ridiculously expensive task is in terms of straight things. Now, my font size is a little bit small.
I still
I do this now.
for the doing spoofing attacks like that over.
Then you actually need to run the data. Run post.
Do it using or maybe.
Specify a particular host to poison.
But maybe my main question is for the assignment 2, if I use like Metasploit,
so what that does.
Can I have the Metasploit installed on Ubuntu if I'm having problems connecting, doing spoofing attacks like that over 2 VMs?
You can install Metasploit wherever you want to, but Metasploit's already installed and configured in Kali.
I know, but I have problems with that.
But if you're using the older versions of Kali, then you actually need to run the database first.
Yeah, well, I've got a new one, and afterwards I've still got to run the database before I do anything. Yeah, okay.
So you got to run Postgres, which must be started up in one of these. So it's the S ones from memory. Gosh, this is old school.
Okay, because I'm happy with that, because then afterwards that allows me to configure an actual system, a network system, and from there through